I'd like to call this City of Shelton Commission meeting to order. Would you please stand with me and recite the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We have added an item to the action agenda, item number 3, and that will be an amendment to our jail contract. At this time, what I'd like to do is turn this meeting over to our acting city manager, Vicki Look, for a resolution.
Good evening, Mayor, Commissioners. In your packet, you received a resolution 1117-0218. And this resolution is asking for an interim appointment as the city manager so that we have the powers and responsibilities of the manager for a period of time until we can have the commission give us direction on finding, recruiting, and appointing a new city manager. It's more routine that happens when our managers are out of town, and the acting appointment is mine, and I have those same sort of powers during that time. Since we do not currently have a manager, we're just asking for an official appointment on an interim basis.
Well, have my fellow commissioners had an opportunity to review this agreement?
Yep.
Is there any questions or comments about this?
Nope.
Okay. So, at this time, what I'd like to do is ask for a first and final reading of Resolution 1117-0218, and I would request a motion to approve Resolution number 1117-0218. Now, should we have the reading first, please?
Yes.
Thank you.
Resolution number 1117-0218, a resolution of the City Commission of the City of Shelton, Washington, appointing an interim city administrator/manager and delegating the interim city administrator/manager all authority associated with the position of the city administrator/manager.
Okay, I'd entertain a motion at this time.
I move that the resolution number 1117-0218 be approved, appointing Vicki Look as the interim city manager, delegating to Vicki Look all duties, powers, and responsibilities of the position of city manager for the term set forth in resolution number 117-0218, and providing compensation for such duties as currently approved within the annual budget.
I will second that.
There's a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Next is our weekly commission reports or bi-monthly commission reports at this time. And so I'll turn to Commissioner Dorsey and see if you have some things on your calendar.
I do have some upcoming meetings to go to, Housing Coalition meeting, Mason Transit Authority orientation, and that will include a tour of the site up on Johns Prairie. And then there will also be a Mason Transit Authority meeting coming up too.
All right, Commissioner McDowell.
I had my left board meeting this morning. Tomorrow we have the after hours, or excuse me, yes, tomorrow. 9th on Friday will be the United Way Valentine Dessert Auction at the Civic Center. Next week, Lions Club meeting, 14th EDC Annual Luncheon, and the 20th, I am going to be attending the Washington Reentry Coalition, which will be held at the library. And those are my 2 weeks.
Thank you very much. This morning I was at a special Economic Development Council board meeting, and this Thursday I will be attending our regular monthly board meeting. Next week I'll be attending a MACECOM board meeting, planning to also attend the Economic Development Lunch on the 14th. And staff briefings seems to be probably about every other day. And one thing I'd like to read tonight is, this is a letter that was sent to me by our Senator Tim Sheldon, and it appears that it was a little extra money over there in the capital budget, and he is putting in a request for the city of Shelton for $1 million for some funding, and talking to Craig Gregory, this appears to be something that's going to be a center divider up here on Highway 101. So hopefully Senator Sheldon can help get this money and we can put it to good use. And so I was excited to read that in my packet this week. That concludes our weekly commission reports.
I have a statement I want to read.
Oh, okay. Commissioner McDowell.
I have a statement tonight that I would like to read. To the citizens of Shelton, I'm going to read into the minutes a statement that is long overdue. We have a group of people who have decided to try to push me out of office. One individual requested public records for all 3 commissioners to see if the mayor and myself had colluded in any way. Well, we did. But it also showed that 2 recent sitting commissioners from 2015 had done the same via text messages while they were both in office. One text between them was an executive meeting. Gary and myself were labeled as corrupt and criminal. A Facebook text referred as to the worst corruption in Shelton in 150 years. When the information was given to the Journal on Gary and me, the other information was not there. Of course, it was hastily done to get the information out on Gary and myself as soon as possible, and on the front page to boot. Where was the other information that came out of the public record request? To go from there, this individual had received this public information, did not stop. He went on to try and discredit me and humiliate me and Gary. He was trying his best to force me out of office. I have a name for this. It's called bully. The old saying once, a bully, always a bully. The latest statement that came from the public records is about deplorables. As you know, Hillary Clinton coined the term deplorables as a derogatory word describing the Trump supporters. Since then, Trump supporters all over the country have adopted this as a label upon themselves that they are proud of. We deplorables want the best for the city and will stand up for what we believe, just as supporters of the candidate who criticized my use of deplorables have. Now let's bring the light to the other form of deplorables, the one who eggs someone's business the day after an election. How about vulgar phone messages because someone does not like what I say on Facebook? How about a note taped to my front door warning me to watch my back? How about being watched wherever I go and reporting it at a commission meeting? How about someone pulling private messages off my Facebook and sharing them with whomever wants to read them? How about lying on the radio, sharing that you ran me from the parade and so very proud that you did that? Get your story straight, Mr. Danger Cup. My husband had surgery that weekend and I was with him. You did not run me off. I am proud to be a deplorable. I did try to have that hidden for the fact that you would spin it in the worst way as you always have done. Read it as you want. I will not step down from office. I will serve my term out and leave with positive accomplishments. Thank you, Kathy McDowell. P.S. By the way, Gary and myself were not the only 2 commissioners asked by Drew McEwen to step down. He also asked the person running for council not to run due to the information on all 3 of us. One more thing, I want you to think about this. He who is without sin casts the first stone. By the way, we all have skeletons in our closets, and they will eventually come out. Thank you.
All
And
right.
I have a letter for the Journal and for iFiber also, if you want one. Public record, please.
All right, that concludes our weekly commission reports. At this time, we have a general public comment. And what we've had is a history of trying to be non-derogatory or personal attacks. And so we want a civil meeting tonight. Everybody's comment is welcome. We will record them. Everything's fine. But what we want to do is, please, no campaigning. There's an election time here. And also, please, no applause. And these are just the rules that has been with the City of Shelton Commission for a long time. So at that time, the floor is, anyone that wants to speak for 3 minutes is welcome.
Jason Coots.
Thank you. That was a nice statement you did. I'm glad to see that you moved on from speakerphone. Gary, you've been the mayor for 6 years, and last week you were completely outclassed in your own meeting. How did that economic development plan pass, Gary? Admit it, you walked in here last week planning to vote no, only to be the last person to realize that an entire room of community members was here to tell you what to do. You voted yes, even though you really wanted to vote no. We both know that's true. This is another room full of people here to tell you what to do. These people are here to tell you the same thing we've said for months. Gary and Kathy, it's time for you to resign. Last week, you disrespected us by saying the amount of people who spoke is a very small amount of people. Really? Tell the truth, Gary. Does this look like a small amount of people? You know what a small amount of people really looks like? It's the number of people who stood up last week and spoke on your behalf. 0. Not even your number one fan, Eric Anisco, feels like getting up here to speak on your behalf. And for once, he and I agree, you're not worth defending. We're here to take back our city. We're upset because you haven't listened. We're tired of you driving from your house in Grapeview to act as mayor in Shelton. We know that without full-time health benefits, none of you commissioners would be here. I've started to get those records too, and I'm starting to read through the documents about the lawyer you hired to fight the city over your health benefits. I'm reading through the emails about you demanding to keep your health insurance and the veiled threats to sue the city if you don't get them. I'm going to figure this thing out, and I plan on explaining it to everyone. I'm going to get your timesheets to show that the city commissioners are the only part-time employees at the city receiving full-time benefits. How are the unions going to take that news? Think they have anyone who wants that benefit too? 3 months ago, after I spoke here for the first time, you told people that, quote, Danger Cup isn't a very bright guy. He needs to learn about how city government works. It's a disappointing way to talk about a citizen, Gary. And truthfully, this citizen is tired of the way your government works. I'm learning more about how this should work, and I look forward to sitting in your seat to show the people. Thank you.
Next.
Melissa Stearns.
Commissioners, I'm here because you haven't done the right thing. You've spent the last couple years taking advantage of your office and the people you serve. Kathy, you've had illegal meetings with Gary on Facebook. You've also deleted illegal messages. You and your friends have badmouthed the city and the people working hard to make it better. You've forced out a city manager who is one of us, someone your city actually believes in. Who's next? In your messages, you and your friends talk about getting rid of other city staff. Are their jobs safe? How concerned would you be if it was one of your loved ones being talked about the way you and Onisco talk about the staff who you call your boss? Gary, you admitted to illegally raising campaign funds with your work email. You were trained and you still broke the law. You also admitted to using your platform as mayor to illegally tell citizens to vote against something we overwhelmingly supported. In your 3 paid advertisements against the people, you promised that if Proposition 1 passed, your position would be eliminated and you would be gone. Please be a man of your word and step down. You've all done your best for the city, but let's be honest, it's clear that that isn't good enough for Shelton at this point. Thank you.
Brandy Wilson.
Thank you. So first, I want to start with, just to address your comment, Ms. McDowell, about deplorable. Webster's dictionary actually says it means unfortunate, wretched, atrocious, awful, terrible, dreadful, and diabolical, which are some pretty harsh words about your constituents. So just wanted to clear the air for everybody there. Are you pleased with yourself so far? Are you pleased with the fact that you've driven out one of the only people who truly have cared about Shelton and who have truly made a change? I want to remind you of a couple of conversations that you've had recently where you had planned to get rid of some of our staff members, which you were successful. Excuse me. On August 28th, I can quote you saying, "Why did you praise Ryan at every chance? Is there a reason? Does he deserve your praise?" You also responded with, "I have never praised him, nor Vicki, nor anyone that doesn't need it." On the 30th, you were quoted as saying, "I think that house cleaning is getting closer at the highest level," which is completely opposite from what we've heard you say. September 5th of 2017, "Vicki can handle clerk and her job. I own a business. I know what it costs to have them." And then the 18th of September, let's start with Ryan Down. "We've never had an assistant city manager and a clerk. I would start at the top, or lay off Vicki, or fire Ryan and promote Vicki," which you've successfully done. So, if this doesn't sound familiar, I'm prepared to give you copies. So my next question is, who's next? Who should fear their job? I'm disappointed that you would talk about anybody in our community this way, especially those that are trying to do a good job. I'm also disappointed that you haven't taken the opportunity to step down. At least when your constituents want you to be gone, they don't hide behind Facebook or texts. We come here in person and we're honest about how we feel. I remember you from the theater, and I know you're a good person. And I know you want to do the right thing. And I think to save what's left of your reputation, I really ask that you do the right thing and step down. Thank you.
Next.
Marilyn Aaron.
Good evening. First, I want to start by saying, Commissioner Dorsey, thank you for your honest and genuine attention and your genuine concern at the last meeting. I was very impressed by that, and I appreciate that. Next, I would like to say, Commissioner McDowell, on Saturday, June 17th at 7:34 p.m., you sent a message or a post. "Hey, Randy, I went grocery shopping to clear my mind. Grocery shopping always clears my mind, especially when I have to deal with all the deplorables in the grocery store. Excuse me, those precious constituents of mine. Let me tell you some of the meanings of deplorable, or the words associated with it. Miserable, woeful, wretched, inferior, hopeless. Something that is so bad that there is no hope for improvement. You don't get a pass on this one, ma'am. We are part of your town. Our problems are your problems. After reading this, I realize what it is that you think of us and this community. You swore an oath to help this town that you are now calling deplorable. I think it's time that you realize you need to take a long look in the mirror or pass the torch to somebody who will care about these people, us people, as your own. Mayor CRONCE, we intend to hold you accountable for your actions, or as you call them, your small mistakes. It's time for better changes for our community. Time to put life and passion back into our community. Time to grow as a community, not be complacent and stagnant. It's time for fresh faces and hardworking members of our society that want to make a difference and want to commit to growth and positive changes. It's time for transparency, honesty, genuine leadership, and dedication. Time for honorable, reputable leaders to set foot into these positions here and the other ones in this town, where we can faithfully stand behind them and know that they have the absolute best interest in our community at heart. It's time for Shelton to have a fresh start. We deserve city officials that we can stand behind and be proud of. And I'm sorry to say, but that is not the two of you. Do the right thing, step down, or retire, whatever you want to call it. Just do what's right for this city and our citizens. Thank you.
Next.
Marilyn Ward.
Good evening, Commissioners and Mayor. I believe that the residents of the City of Shelton have the right to know why Ryan Wheaton, the City Manager, resigned his position. Lately, at these meetings, it has become very apparent that transparency in our government is a very high priority to our residents. Due to the way that it was handled, there is now rampant speculation and blame being placed. This is wrong, and it's not good for our town. Please show the residents that transparency is important, and let us know the reason for Ryan's resignation. Thank you.
Debbie Simmons.
Good evening. So I was out of town for a week and came back to reading articles in the Journal about just the nonsense here, the last city commission meeting. Then today I opened up Facebook and I see an article about you, Mayor, wanting to sue the city about health care. Really? And it said you ran for elected office for the health care. Pay your own damn health care. You don't go and sue the city when you're already under investigation for being shady. It's shameful. And Kathy, I have no words for you. You're just shameful. Thank you.
Next.
Jenny Brush.
I am choosing to stand up today on behalf of our commissioners and their hard work these past few years. I would like to recap just a few of the positive contributions that have been set in motion by them. So thank you, Gary, Kathy, and Tracy. As a team, your decision to cut impact fees for one-year trial period led to a substantial increase in residential growth in Shelton. In prior years, Shelton had only seen a minimal residential growth. This last year, over 20 home permits were processed instead of just 2 from the prior years. This upsurge in home permits will not only increase jobs, but also increase the tax-based revenue and local retail sales. This is encouraging for the city. This shows that you, as our commissioners, are willing to try new tactics in order to spur on our economic growth and help our developers to consider Shelton as a place for potential investing. I have included Tracy in this comment because this was accomplished when she was also in office. So thank you again, Tracy, Kathy, and Gary, for your positive contributions.
Monette Jemmy.
I'm speaking on behalf of many of the citizens of Shelton, also my family and my friends. And we appreciate you all. We appreciate what Tracy did, Kathy, and Gary, and soon also Kevin. I'd like to thank you for the monetary savings by contracting with Mason County to handle the Mason County garbage for solid waste services. This decision has and will continue to save the city from the cost of vehicle maintenance and other needed equipment. I also want to mention the reduction in our city's debt of over $50 million down to $44 million to various debt reduction plans. In closing, I would like to thank you again for your hard work and want to recognize the successful job you're all doing. Thank you.
Cynthia Radke.
Part of the reason I am up here to speak is that the platform for our commission meetings at times seems to have taken somewhat of a negative twist. The purpose of these meetings is to present public business to the residents of Shelton, focusing on business aspects. According to the core beliefs on the city website, discussions may include items like general policy resolutions, setting duties, maintaining an open government, and adopting resolutions. There seems to have been an allowance of some negative character comments in regards to our commissioners, and this was and is not the appropriate platform. So here is a reminder of just some of the successes of our commissioners. One positive project that the commissioner team has accomplished is the donation of land to start the process for the YMCA to be built in Shelton. This will give our youth the opportunity for after-school programs that will offer healthy activities and interactions. It will also provide additional job openings for our local community from the start to the finished project. You have also accomplished achieving the improvement of well number 1. This particular well was not reliable in supplying water to our city. As a team, you chose to rehab the well at the estimated cost of $195,000 and save a substantial amount of money in doing this. The alternative was to have a new well put in, which would have cost the city $1.3 million. Again, thank you, Tracy, Kathy, and Gary. You are valued and needed in this current position.
Next.
Dennis Teague.
I've known Mayor CRONCE since 1988. I've known him to be a man of his word. He's not a perfect man, obviously, but he became mayor because he wanted to serve this public, serve the city of Shelton. And I've known him to be a kind of a person who would build a quality home when he was a home builder because he cared about the quality of it. One thing I've really appreciated is the budget was quite low before he became mayor when it came to the roads and the streets of Shelton, and there's been quite a bit of work done on those streets. I know there's more to be done, but I've noticed it and I've really appreciated it. And I think he's gone to bat for this town in the state, in other kinds of forums. And I think he's done a lot for this town, and I think that when the new commissioners come on, and there's 7, I think he'll be able to work with the people that are elected like he was elected and be able to serve out his term with dignity and do the best he can. So I stand behind the mayor and the other duly elected commissioners.
And we have Michael Wilson.
Hello, my name is Michael Wilson, and I'm a deplorable. Your words, Commissioner, not mine. And Mayor, I was going to let all this just play out and not get involved, but last week on your interview with iFiber One, whether you meant to or not, sir, you came across as quite arrogant. And to be honest, that's what spurred me. So I guess I should be thanking you for egging me on to get involved. And I just want to say, Commissioner McDowell and Mayor, shame on you. Shame on you, Commissioner McDowell, for speaking about your constituents that way, the people who put you in office. Whether you thought it was public, private, whatever, it came out that way. Mayor, there's so much controversy starting to surround you, sir, under investigation, and it just seems to be getting deeper and deeper. Both you, do the right thing for our city. Resign. Thank you.
We have no.
Is it?
No. Tracy Moore.
Tracy Moore, and the reason I signed up for general public comment tonight was in the process of hiring a new city manager. I am asking that you would, it probably will happen just organically, but I think it would be a reasonable request to wait until the entire council is seated to make a final determination as to who is our new city manager, so I would request that. And then as far, I hadn't intended to say anything about this, but good gosh. I didn't think my respect for you could get any less, Kathy, but it has.
All right, that concludes our general public comment. Thank you all for your comments. At this time, what I'd like to do is move into a presentation by, I think, well, we need a consent agenda. So, could I please have a reading of the consent agenda?
Vouchers numbered 16591 through 16635 in the amount of $143,104.85. Minutes from special meeting executive session of January 12th, 2018, special meeting of executive session January 16th, 2018, and the business meeting of January 16th, 2018.
Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I will make a motion to approve.
Second?
There's a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? The consent agenda passes. First item on the business agenda is about an expenditure approval, and it's going to be presented to us by our Public Works Director, Craig Gregory.
Thank you, Mayor, Commissioners. Bringing forward tonight an expenditure that happened right at the end of 2017 into 2018. We had some communication issues out at the satellite wastewater treatment plant that we had to address through our on-call SCADA services. That contract had expired at the end of 2017, and we didn't get an invoice until into 2018. So just for simple transparency, looking at this outside of the contract, we are asking that the commission approve this expenditure for $6,586.67 outside of the contract date for SCADA on-call services. And tonight we are just asking that you concur to move this expenditure to the action agenda for the meeting on February 20th.
Any questions or comments for Craig Gregory?
I have a couple. Were these, the $6,586.67, I see it's going to be taken out of the sewer department budget,
That's correct.
and is that going to, harm their budget? I mean, is that going to be?
They've got enough.
They got plenty of funds in
Yes,
there?
they do. We budget every year for on-call services, not only SCADA services, but also engineering services within that department. And they have ample budget to take this expenditure on for 2018.
And this extra expenditure was, it looks like it was multiple alarms?
It was a situation that started on, I believe, a Thursday, and moving into the weekend, we were manually operating the entire wastewater treatment plant, right, which would have meant that we had somebody on 24/7. Right. So we would have had overtime throughout the weekend and into the following week. So under an emergency purchase, we moved forward with the materials that we needed to correct the problem, and then had Parametrics, who is the on-call SCADA services. They hold the contract. We had them out for a couple days in a row trying to take care of the problem. They ended up responding and taking care of that issue in a fairly timely fashion.
So that was very necessary.
Yes, it was an emergency situation.
Emergency, yeah.
Otherwise, we would have brought this forward earlier on to notice you of it and move forward with an expenditure, but with being an emergency service, we had to move forward with it, or we would have continued to run the wastewater treatment plant manually during that time.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions for Craig Gregory? It appears that we concur to place this on the February 20th action agenda. Thank you very much. Next, resolution number 2, that's also going to be presented to us by you.
Thanks again, Mayor and Commissioners. This is not a typical process for us. Sole sourcing, it is only done on a limited basis and on equipment or components of equipment that we can only get from one provider. So with a sole source, what we are asking for is with these components of the UV system down at the main wastewater treatment plant, they can and are only provided by one distribution provider, and all of these components, the DCA and LCA boards, the bulbs, the quart sleeves, ballast, all are only provided by one distributor. So we are having to go to bid anytime we replace any of those. We get one quote, and it is from Suez. So to eliminate that requirement for us is essential for us to not have to go through that bid process. And like I said, this is not something that we would typically do unless we run into the situation where on an ongoing basis there is only one provider. And that's what we have come up with in this situation for our UV system. If we do go to an alternative product, it would not only reduce the efficiency of that system, but also would void any guarantees or warranties for that UV system, which is the disinfectant right before it outfalls into Oakland Bay. So we don't feel that it would be justified for us to try to retrofit or change any parts within that system. We would like to keep it operating at the highest level possible.
Any questions or comments for Craig Gregory?
Yeah. Are there, first of all, I want to say that I'm a firm believer in using original factory parts, okay? Now, how long is the warranties for this equipment? Is it long time warranties?
I would have to get back to you on that,
right.
Commissioner Dorsey. I don't know exactly right offhand. I would guess that it's a couple of years, but I would have to verify that.
The prices of, was it Suez?
That's correct.
Would they be comparable in the other brand anyway?
That is what we have found,
Yeah,
is
okay.
any of the off-brands, they're fairly comparable in price. I think if there was a large gap, we would certainly take a look at it and see what the effects of that might be, but they are fairly close to those off brands that could be retrofitted into this.
It usually doesn't pay to retrofit. Am I correct?
This kind of appears to be one of those things, it's just the cost of doing business.
Yeah, like I said, it's not typical for us to obviously try to skirt any kind of bid law. We try to abide by that at all costs, but this is just a situation where we can't get the parts in any other location. So at this point, to not have to go through and try and get 3 bids for any of these parts, and it's a fairly limited list through that UV system. Like I listed all of those parts before, for that system, it makes sense to move forward with a sole source. And we will certainly come back and take a look at this in the years to come to see if there are any of those distributors that pop up out there, so that we can do away with this. But at this time, this makes the most sense.
So you're looking for us just to concur to place this on the action agenda?
That's correct.
No motion?
No.
Okay. So at this point, do we concur to place this resolution on the action agenda for February 20th, 2018? Yes, we do.
Yep.
Thank you very much, sir. Appreciate that. All right, next is we're going to talk about bulk asphalt, and it looks like you are the gentleman to tell us about that.
So again, another bid item with all of the maintenance activities that use hot mix asphalt, and also the 20 blocks that we have committed to paving in-house this year. That's a fairly substantial amount of hot mix asphalt. So We went out for a formal bid. We did only get one responder. It was Lakeside Industries that are located over in Nisqually. It is the normal place that we haul from. There is one that is closer, Pyramid Materials, that's located just north of Shelton that we have used in the past, but we did not get a response from them. So we are asking for the commission to concur to move this contract forward to the February 20th meeting.
Any questions or comments for Craig Gregory?
Was the bid comparable to previous years? I mean,
It was. Previously Lakeside has been on a state contract, and the bid that we actually got was a little less than what we have paid through the state contract in the past. So it was very competitive.
Any other questions? So at this point, it appears we concur to place this contract on the action agenda for February 20th, 2018.
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. All right, the action agenda. Okay, again, Mr. Craig, well, you come every week, it's just you, isn't it?
We try to be as transparent as possible in Public Works with the citizens of Shelton and the commission.
Well, you do a good job.
Thank you.
You do a good job. So,
Thanks, Craig, for your honesty.
Thank you.
so now, this is just a little something, this is like a little bookkeeping thing here, it appears. That
This is just some house cleaning. As we talked about a couple of weeks ago, there was a miscalculation. The Shelton Municipal Code had not been changed to freeze the rates for 2017. So we were using, when we were calculating the new rates, we used the 2017 increased rates. So we had found that error and gone back and corrected it. So what we had brought to you several weeks ago, these numbers that you will see today are slightly less than what we had seen in the past. And like I said, it was just an error in calculation and just a house cleaning component of this.
Okay, do we have anybody signed up to speak on this item?
Looks like we have Jason Coots.
Okay.
I just want to point out that Gary, you've been mayor for 6 years.
Yeah, okay. We're going to stay with this subject.
Right.
Okay.
You ran on the...
So why don't you stay on this subject? Okay, you had an ample time to do the slam Gary routine. That's fine. We're on this subject. This is what we're talking about now.
Yeah. You
Okay.
ran on the promise that you would lower water and sewer rates.
Okay.
They've never been lowered while you were in office. I just wanted to say that.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, so what we need to do is actually do a motion at this time. Is that correct?
No.
We are asking for a second reading, Mayor, first.
All right. Let's see right here. Okay. Could we please have a second reading of this ordinance?
Ordinance number 1916-0118, an ordinance of the City of Shelton, Washington, amending Chapter 15.28 of the Shelton Municipal Code relating to water rates.
All right, there is a motion. Is there, I need a motion. Entertain a motion.
I move to adopt ordinance number 1916-0118, an ordinance of the City of Shelton, Washington, amending Chapter 15.28 of the Shelton Municipal Code relating to water rates.
Okay, is there a second?
second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right, next we have the same issue kind of with the sewer rate.
It is exactly the same issue, Mayor. Those calculations that were frozen in late 2016 did not get carried forward onto the Shelton Municipal Code. So when calculating, we were using those inflated rates, and we found that error. And this is, again, just a house cleaning issue to fix that and get this into the Shelton Municipal Code as correct.
Okay, has anyone signed up to speak about this issue?
No.
Okay. So at this point, I would entertain a motion for, first we have a second reading, then we'll have a motion.
Ordinance number 1917-0118, an ordinance of the City of Shelton, Washington relating to sewer service, amending Shelton Municipal Code sections 14.28.010 through 14.28.040.
Okay, do we have a motion to approve?
I move to adopt the ordinance number 1917-0118, an ordinance of the City of Shelton, Washington relating to sewer service, amending Shelton Municipal Code sections 14.28.010 through 14.28.040.
Is there a second?
I second that.
There's a motion and a second to approve this motion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right, item number G is an administration report. Oh, wait, no. We got another action agenda item, that's right. I got it here in my notes. And we're going to turn the meeting at this time over to our Police Chief, DARRIN Moody, to talk to us about amending a jail contract. Thank you, sir.
Hope I can match Public Works transparency with the police department. Commissioners, as you're aware, at the end of December of 17, we were given a letter or served with a notice from the Mason County Sheriff's Office telling us they were going to increase our rates or they were going to terminate the contract we had with the Sheriff's Office. We've been in talks with them since, trying to figure out alternatives to booking. As we move forward with this, they graciously allowed us 2 of the 7 beds to be booked as we see fit. The other 5 beds still remain municipal or misdemeanor beds only. The rate went from, let's see, $85 a day up to $102 a day per inmate, per bed, and we contract with 7 beds currently. It is my recommendation that at this time we go forward with this, but keeping that in mind, I've had meetings with the Chehalis Tribal Jail, and we have conversations with Lewis County, and are working on other contract options and availability. We currently have a contract with Nisqually, but that's strictly through the courts and for emergencies with DOC. So we are looking at other alternatives as we move forward in the year, but unfortunately, we're being threatened to cut off all of our jail beds if we don't pay up. We're kind of over between a rock and a hard place at the moment. And I'd be happy to answer any questions you have about it.
We pay for those beds even if there's nobody in them.
Yes, that was
It's
the...
a reservation type of thing, right?
Well, I can tell you they're full.
Well, yeah, but if there were.
We could book 15 more. What the old contract, the problem was the old contract in years past was the billing was a mess because it would be shared beds. If you booked somebody on a Superior Court warrant that had a misdemeanor or a municipal court warrant, 50% of the cost went there, 50% here. Billing was never a timely fashion, and it was difficult to follow. About a year and a half ago, the sheriff and I met to discuss options into this, and one of the options was, why don't we just pay for a flat rate amount of beds, and I have them, or we have them at the police department to book as we see fit. And that's going by the wayside too, slowly. But
The cost of going out of the area for other beds.
it varies, depending on which jail you go to. I can tell you that the 3 that we've had contact with are cheaper than what we're paying here.
And then we have a cost of transporting them.
The logistic problem is something that we're going to have to be working through because they have to come back and forth to court. The other problem with that is we have the convenience of booking in our own county. This way we have to go out of county. So in essence, if we use an officer, I take an officer off the street for a 2-hour round trip to get somebody to jail. We're looking at other options besides an officer doing transport. Like I said, those are things that are going to come forward as we move on this.
Well, as one that served on the Criminal Justice Board with you for the past year or 2 years, I appreciate your involvement and your working hard on this issue. And so at this point, I think this is a recommendation that we need to move forward, and it's the right thing to do. So, are there any other questions or comments for Chief Moody?
So we're going from, did I hear you right, 7 beds to 2?
No. So
Okay.
the major change was we were paying $85 a bed per day. They came in and said, if you don't pay $102 a bed per day, we're going to revoke the contract. In talks back and forth, one of our frustrations was we couldn't book certain felonies into those beds. We couldn't book Superior Court. We couldn't book DOC violators into those beds. The restriction was misdemeanor or municipal court warrants only. And what we agreed upon was, I tell you what, give us at least leniency in 2 of those beds for emergency situations that we can book whoever we need to book.
We have to take what we can get, and I think it's a good idea to move forward with accepting those 2 beds. So, any other discussion? This is an action item, so if anybody from the public wants to speak specifically about this, they can at this time. Okay, so I would entertain a motion.
I'm not sure on the motion to make, but I move that we accept the contract, is that correct?
Yep.
For the,
Yeah, just accept that right there.
which one?
Just accept this
Okay.
as this is.
I move to accept the interlocal agreement for use of jail facilities executed January 30th, 2017 to February 21st, 2017. Is that correct?
The addendum there too.
Pardon?
The addendum to that.
The addendum to that. So that's the original contract, so we're just accepting an addendum.
And accepting an addendum to that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, there's a
I think I got it
motion?
right.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, there's a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed? Thank you. All right, now it's our Assistant City Manager, Vicki Look.
Thank you. We just have a couple of announcements today, and these announcements are relating to Public Works again. We did get a communication from the Department of Commerce, and we had previously had a grant or a contract that was for $1.5 million, and that was to do with the Hall Equities project. And we were not able to have that project move forward to meet the timeline. So they have reallocated that funding to the Basin 3 project, and that helps fund that project. Is that fully funded at this point?
We will see tomorrow.
Well, we will see tomorrow. Oh, that's because we also wanted to announce that we do have a Basin 3 bid opening tomorrow at 2 p.m. And we're hopeful that the bids come in, and we will have great bids that will keep us in our funding levels. So.
And that
Good news.
tomorrow is open to the public, that bid is?
Yes,
It's
it
here
is.
in this building, isn't
Mhm.
it?
Or will it be in one of the back
Okay.
rooms?
It is in one of the back rooms,
It'll be
yes.
in the
2
middle
p.m.,
room.
okay.
All right, was there anything else?
That's all I had.
Thank you very much. Our next meeting will be Tuesday, February 20th, 2017 at 7 p.m. in the evening. This meeting is adjourned.
Nice have-